Hi, I'm Mark Wybrow and this is a very special Electronic Cafe, the channel for the lovers of electronic music.
And I'm Andy McNabb, so let's get started. So welcome to this, our latest edition of Electronic Cafe. Really hope you enjoyed the last episode we did, which focused on the resurrection of the mighty Gary Newman. It seemed to go down really well. We had tweets about that show from Marshall and Nikon, all being very positive, so thank you guys, really appreciate that. I also wanted to shout out Gibby at Dace Records, who really looked after me when I had a bit of an issue with ordering the Sono EO album. He was brilliant, so thank you, mate. Also, big friend of the show and someone we're a big fan of Electronic Cafe, Phonohead has just released a new 3-track sort of mini album. If you haven't checked it out, download it. It's called When the Moon Seems So Close. Absolutely amazing. That guy's music seems to be getting better and better the more music he produces. I'll ask Mark to put a link if he could with his normal magic. Thank you, mate. Just so if you guys can go and check it out and download it, I think it's brilliant. So, we promised more good stuff to come, and boy, have we got a treat for you, all of you, what's coming. Our first proper big Electronic Cafe interview, and it's with the legendary Rusty Egan. He's a musician, DJ, producer, and he was really the core driving force, that whole new romantic movement that people might not know how much, what a part he played in all that. He co-created Billy's Club and the Blitz. He was a big, strong founding member of the band Visage, which most of you know had that worldwide hit Fade to Grey. He's still producing and promoting electronic music to this day, and he's probably single-handedly responsible for most of my vinyl purchases over the last 2 years. The guy's still got such an amazing ear for great music. He has a lot to say, and I really hope you enjoy Rusty's passionate, smart, honest views of the industry and his experiences in Visage. So, sit back and just check this guy out. I hope you enjoy, our interview with the legendary Rusty Egan.
Devenir gris. Devenir gris.
As mentioned, Rusty Egan is a drummer, musician, songwriter, DJ, producer, promoter. He's been a record shop owner and has had his own record label. He's drummed in the Rich Kids with Midge Ure and Glenn Matlock, and he's also spent time behind the kit with The Clash and Skids. He has produced and remixed for the likes of Madonna, Spirit of Destiny, U2, just to name a few, and is responsible for getting Midge Ure into Ultravox after the departure of John Foxx. He put on and promoted early gigs for the likes of Soft Cell, Depeche Mode, and worked with the legendary Some Bizarre record label and the owner Steve-O. In the 80s, he was the eye of the New Romantic Storm, almost single-handedly putting together the soundtrack for the New Romantic movement, and he DJ'd at numerous legendary London nightclubs, including Billy's, La Beetroot and Blitz, which he ran with Steve Strange. The Blitz Club had Spandau Ballet as its house band and was attended by other Blitz kids who went on to be successful in their own right. The likes of Martin Degville and Tony James from Sigue Sigue Sputnik, Robert Elms, the broadcaster and author, Siobhan Fahy from Bananarama, Boy George from Culture Club, who was famously the cloakroom assistant at the Blitz Club, Jeremy Healy from Hazy Fantasy, John Galliano, the fashion designer, Perry Lister from Hot Gossip, Marilyn, Sade, Philip Salon, Midge Ure. 2017 saw the release of Rusty's first solo album, Welcome to the Dance Floor, which featured appearances from Midge Ure, Tony Hadley and Peter Hook. The album, also released in a remix form, was Welcome to the Remix. Clearly, all of this would be too much to discuss in one episode, so thought we would concentrate on just one thing. The one thing that we've never really seen discussed, apart from interviews with Steve Strange. That is Visage. And to ask Rusty the questions that we as fans or musicians would like to know the answers to. So here goes, Rusty Egan and Visage. Visage were a studio-only synth band heavily linked to the new romantic scene, and the original lineup of Visage released just 3 albums between 1980 and 1984. Visage consisted of Steve Strange, Midge Ure and Billy Currie from Ultravox, Rusty Egan, Dave Formula from Magazine, John McGeoch from Susie and the Banshees. Additional musicians used in the recording were Barry Adamson from Magazine, Chris Payne and Cedric Sharpley from Tube by Army and Gary Newman. A stellar lineup of musicians indeed. The first album was the self-titled Visage album, written and produced by Visage and released in November 1980, reaching number 13 in the UK charts, and I guess best known for the huge hits Fade to Grey and Mind of a Toy. And it is often said that this album best represents the short-lived and often underrated new romantic movement.
Name the place for a rendezvous, and name the time, and I'll get to you. Take a train, take a motorway, and take a plane. Take it any day, and take a drink as you leave the ground. Time to think. Hearing headphones.
The Anvil is the second studio album by Visage, released in March 1982, and it reached number 6 in the UK album charts. The only musician on the first album that did not appear on the second album was John McGeoch, who was in Spain at the time touring with Susie and the Banshees. The Anvil was the last Visage album to feature Ultravox frontman Midge Ure, who left the band after its release, due mainly to his commitments with Ultravox, and as most of the Visage writing and producing fell to Midge Ure. However, Midge Ure has also said that when Visage became successful, jealousy and the nasty side of the business crept in, and that was never the way that it was intended. The Anvil is a more sophisticated sounding album than the first one, and it contains the singles The Damn Don't Cry and Night Train. The non-Midge Ure song Pleasure Boys was a non-album single released after The Anvil. The Anvil is still a great sounding record.
Of a stranger in your midst, on a speeding train.
Beat Boy is the third studio album by the original Visage, released in October 1984. It was poorly received by critics, only reaching number 79 on the UK album charts, and would be the band's last studio album for almost 30 years. The album was recorded and released after lead singer Steve Strange decided to make Visage a live band instead of being solely a studio-based project, a decision that left him working only with drummer Rusty Egan and a trio of newer musicians. Midge Ure had already left, and Billy Currie left the band soon after recording commenced. Dave Formula also departed the band during this time. The album spent only 2 weeks on the album charts, and its critical and commercial failure effectively marked the end of Visage as a recording act for the next couple of decades.
The siren screams to start the day. You get up early to earn your pay. Push the button, throw that switch. Turbines roar, they're an holy pitch. I listen, I can hear.
So hi everyone, as you can see, a couple of good things here. Me and Mark are actually in the same room for the first time in about 6 or 7 months, and we've been talking about adding some extra bits to our show to make it better, and we also talked about doing interviews with some famous people that really helped shape the whole look of electronic music, the sound and the image and everything. And the guy sitting here to my left is certainly one of the biggest contributors to that. So I'd like to say a big welcome to the fabulous Mr. Rusty Egan. Rusty, welcome to Electronic Cafe.
I'm in the Electronic Cafe.
You are, and if you can see us holding our breath in a bit, we just had an amazing Sunday lunch, which is great. So had a great chat about what we're going to talk about today, and actually quite nicely, what we're going to focus on in this particular episode is more about Visage and the music, because that's obviously why we created this whole show. So Mark and I got a few questions we want to ask Rusty, and then we're going to finish with a 10-question quick fire round. So that should be great. And I say really great that Rusty's come all the way from Chelsea to merry old Essex to come and see us. So again, thank you, Rusty. Really grateful that you've made the effort to come see me and Mark today at the EC. So let's start with some great questions, and I'll let Mark kick off. Mark.
Mr. Rusty Egan, obviously your CV is incredible. You are a DJ, you was at Billy's, Blitz, Camden Palace, you was at the Eye of the Storm throughout the whole 80s. You're a drummer, you played in Skids, you played in The Clash, you were instrumental in Visage. Now Visage, how did Visage form? I mean, obviously you was all at the Blitz Club, but who had the conversation? Whose idea was to form Visage?
Well, whilst Midura and I were working with Glenn Matlock and Steve New as Rich Kids, the initial Rich Kids were anti-punk, so to speak, meaning a member of the Sex Pistols got thrown out of the band, replaced by Sid Vicious, and was ridiculed through Johnny Lydon's hatred of Glenn Matlock's love of small faces or whatever. I'm not quite sure. But basically, Midge and I came to Glenn, me through Mick Jones from The Clash, introducing me to Glenn. Our idea of what Rich Kids could be was not Glenn's idea of what Rich Kids could be, but we all agreed on Mick Ronson as the producer.
Yeah.
And Marching Men was Bowie-esque in the fact that I stood at the drums and we had neon lights.
Yeah.
So it was, the Rich Kids was the sort of battle of rock, punk, and what was going to become the 80s.
Yeah.
So the four of us would argue, and Glenn would always win because it was his band. So as we toured and got spat on and had bottles thrown at us by lovers of the Sex Pistols or Sham 69 or National Front, skinhead, punk, the more we knew we did not want this, Midge and I.
Yeah.
And I was a big fan of Roxy Music, and I had read that Brian Ferry had also refused to tour after a period of time because agents booked you into anywhere and everywhere, and every band played everywhere. And Roxy, for me, were one of the most innovative and stylish bands. And they had a guy called Brian Eno that I was a mega fan of. So while all that was going on, David Bowie and Iggy Pop and Tony Visconti were in Berlin.
Yeah.
And the music that was coming out of that, what they called a Berlin trilogy, and The Idiot and Lust for Life, that for me, with the song Night Clubbing, Turn Blue, and I was like shouting loud in the Rich Kids. So when it came to the next Rich Kids album, this is the bit.
Yeah.
Gary Kemp often says Rich Kids was the band between punk and new romantic.
Right, okay.
I had no idea that Gary Kemp was a fan of the Rich Kids.
Yeah.
But when it came to that, if you look at the last ever concert of Rich Kids that was filmed at Rock Goes to College, there's a song,
I remember that.
tongue in cheek, but it's called Forever and Ever. And as you know, Slick had a #1 with Forever and Ever.
Yeah.
So it was a Rich Kids kind of homage to Midge. He stands behind a Yamaha CS30, I've been told. I thought it was a CS80. And bottom line is, that song was the end of the Rich Kid, but the beginning
Right, okay.
of Midge and I saying, let's do this music. Now, if you grabbed your record collection in 1978, 79, you had Television Marquee Moon, you had Blondie Parallel Lines, you had obviously your Bowie, your Eno, your Roxy, your Kraftwerk, your Grace Jones. So you had that, but there weren't many records being made then that you went, Adolescent Sex by Japan. I like. So I started to just say, look, this is the music I want to make.
Yeah.
And turned Mitch onto listening to it. He already knew about it,
Yeah.
but he really listened to it. And the bottom line is, Midge and I clicked. You're right. Let's do this. Got a C8 78 drum machine, you know.
Yeah.
EMI said, so, where's the next Rich Kids album? And we said, give us some demo time. And we went in EMI studios and we did The Dancer.
Yeah.
And we did in the year 25. And I can never remember this, but everybody talks about the Steve Strange demos. And they all keep talking about, can you release them? I never looked at Steve Strange as a bloke that was going to bring me music. He had a song called Tar, which was the song that I heard him singing with a band called the Photons. When I decided, well, at least he's a front man, you know.
But that's the thing, is I've read as well,
Yeah,
was Boy George ever considered to be the
No,
singer
no.
of Visage?
no, this is much later now. So 1979, Rich Kid was 1978. And in between the touring, while I was touring, Steve Strange showed up at like Wales or, you know, he showed up at a gig.
Yeah.
And of course, where are you guys staying? We're at the Ramada. Or then 4 a.m, knock on the door. Can I sleep on your floor? Oh, it's Steve. You know, so basically, Steve and I hung out and even hitchhiked to the next gig. Because they were going, right, we're leaving now. And I was going, oh, I'm still in bed, I don't care. I'll see you tonight. Not far, it's 30 miles, isn't it? 30 miles. So I'd go to Wolverhampton or something, and then the next gig in Dudley, you know, whatever. So the point really was that me and Steve hung out, and he goes, oh yeah, I'm getting this band together. Everybody's getting a band together, you know. Dexy's Midnight Runners supported us one night. They weren't called Dexys, they were called something else. And everywhere you went, somebody had a band that you, next time you met them, like Richard Jobson, you're in Scotland, yeah, I'm in the Skids. Oh, who are they? You know, everybody had a band.
Yeah.
And then they came and saw you in London. So yeah, Steve and I just got on great. And I thought Princess Julia was his girlfriend. I was so naive. I had no idea she wasn't his girlfriend, you know, like that. So anyway, the point was, Rich Kids and Visage and the EMI demo time, somehow or other we did all the King's Horses, which I can't remember. And people keep writing about the Visage demos that we did for EMI. I keep going, well, they must have them because they didn't like them and they didn't want to sign us. So if I can end that one as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
25, a man is still alive. A woman can survive. They may find.
In the year 35, can't tell the truth, can't tell no lies. Everything you think, do or say.
Yeah. Got you.
Does that answer that?
Well, it does. I mean, there's that great photo outside of Blitz with
Well, that's
you.
again later.
Yeah, with you, Billy Curry,
The whole
Mitchell,
lot.
Dave Formula,
All later.
everyone outside. And I just wondered, you answered it by saying it was Midge and Rich Kids and stuff, which kind of spoke and led you into Visage, rather than someone coming up to you and going, here, I've got this idea.
Well,
Yeah.
work this one out. There's a band, and there's another band called Magazine. There's another band called Ultravox, and there's the Breaking Up Rich Kids. And there's, at the time, Japan. There is no Depeche Mode. There's a Human League, who then split up.
Yeah, the Mark 1.
So there was Travelogue and, you know.
Yeah.
There's Simple Minds' first album. So there's like a handful of bands that were making anything that I liked. And then there was, I got your number written on the back of my hand. Oh, it's called New Wave Music. Oh, my Sharona, that's not new, that's not, this is just rubbish. Pop. Yeah, but it's called New Wave. And there's Stiff Records, which was good. And there's, so bottom line, the record industry had already, what's the word, been beaten up by punk, but only Virgin Records signed everyone.
Yeah.
We'll have the Ruts, we'll have the Lurkers, we'll have the, you know, we'll sign everyone, and maybe one of them will be good. They lucked out with the Police. They didn't sign the Police, they signed the Police to publish it.
Right.
Anyway, the point was, there was just, you know, U2 were another band, 11 o'clock TikTok. Everybody had a record, everybody had a single out. Squeeze, a packet of free. You know, everybody had a single out, and nobody knew who was going to do anything. But they were all new wave. And we were not new wave. So I didn't want to be punky new wave. So I used to go to this club called the Speakeasy on my way home from watching bands. And on a Tuesday night, I went to the Vortex, which was a punk club in Woodall Street. And the Rich Kids played there before Mesure. We played there with Mick Jones and The Clash. So the point was, I knew that you could go to a club on one night, but on the weekend it was chicken in a basket. Ladies' night. But on a Tuesday it was punk, you know. I was like, oh, great idea, right? It was like £1 to get in on a Tuesday and 50p for a drink. So broke people, and not only that, UB40 was even, you know, less, so you could go out.
Yeah.
It wasn't about money. So this transition period, I think it's the end of 78 into 79. End of 78 into 79. Because at the end of 79, I was in LA with Ultravox. And they just got about 9 or 10 songs, of which 8 of them were like Ultravox. You know, from the first 3 albums, and Midge singing Quiet Men, and you know, which is the only way they got the gig, you know. So at the end of 79, are the Rich Kids over? No, they're not over. Midge and Rusty are in the studio, you know, Rumours, little bits in NME, and what is Glenn Matlock doing, and a bit of that. And me playing Midge, my record collection, in my flat, and saying, have you heard that? Have you heard this? Have you heard that? Ultravox, have you heard that? Have you heard Hiroshima Mon Amour? Have you heard that? What a tune. Magazine, have you heard that? Look, that guitarist. Oh my God. Permafrost, have you heard that? You know, and I was like a fan, you know, going from my record collection, pulling out records. Listen to Iggy, Turn Blue. Jesus, this is Iggy. And I was like, this is what we need to do. And then I was playing him Noi, E-Music, one of my favourite tracks ever. And I was going, this is the drumming that I love, this is the drumming. And I'm really over the top, in case anybody watching this hasn't noticed. I'm like a fan. And as long as I am a fan, then I can breathe. And I have to tell you that my experience has been that people lose that. People lose being a fan. DJs more than anyone. DJs, they're like the most narrow-minded. Yeah, mate, I only do higher. This is the only music I play. I don't care, this is what I do. And you go, great.
Difference in
So
passion, right?
you don't want to play any David Bowie.
quick question. So so that cover there, which you guys can probably see, the first
That.
album, yeah.
You want to know about it?
No, I remember seeing this. I remember going to a record shop called Downtown Records in Romford, and there was I hope he's not watching, some spotty guy called Chris, lovely bloke, and I said to him, I've heard about this album. He went, oh, hang on, I think I might have it. He got this box, and literally,
Yeah.
first delivery, I got it. I took it down to a little bar in Romford, and the DJ asked the guy there to put it on, and my mates went, what's this? And about 10 of my mates went out and bought it. But the cover is still, to me, I mean, if that was on a t-shirt,
Yeah.
So iconic.
yeah,
Well-
must have had a little bit. So what was your reaction when you saw that cover? What was
I
that?
don't want to see it. We made it. I was all
Well,
part
so
of it.
that's what I want to know. So
Well, I know that Electronic Cafe supports the first records and the new records
yeah,
of unknown independent artists.
yeah,
Okay. And as you know, I had a radio show myself for many years. And as you know, I have loved and supported people. Okay. If you looked at my recording studio, you will not see what Taylor Swift has in her recording studio, which is a solid state Logic 6000 series mixing desk and racks and racks and racks of all the toys, which I used to own in 1984 and rent out for £1,000 a day. That is the sort of studio that whenever you see Kanye West being interviewed, will be in that studio. This album was made in a garage at the bottom of the garden of Martin Russian's house in Goring and Streatley, where the musicians bunked the fare to get there to produce this album.
amazing.
It says on this album, produced by Visage and Midure. I wasn't happy about that because I thought Visage was Midure and me. But a year after it was made, I was told it's been produced by Midure, which I won't argue about because he's an amazing guy, right? So I don't argue. But I thought all these musicians would get together and make an album, and then they would go and play with someone else. And the bloke on the cover would be in the video because he has amazing ideas for visuals, clothes, makeup, connections. Yes, he's the perfect guy. There was a bloke in the cloakroom at the Blitz Club who was only 16. He didn't have any ideas. And he didn't know that he was a singer. I mean, if you speak to George, I was just a fan of David Bowie, and
Yeah, massive.
I didn't know at 16.
Yeah.
But if Steve can do it, which was kind of what happened. So the clothes are Willie, Vivian Lynn's boyfriend and partner. The photograph is Peter Ashworth, who happened to be next to a shop called PX. The logo is Midure. The airbrushing was Ian Gillies that I found, because he stood on the door of a late night cinema where Midge and I watched film noir, hence Vienna the video, which is basically The Third Man, okay? And then it's got a credit to Kate Wilson, who was my first childhood sweetheart. And then it's got credits to Hair, Keith at Smile, did Roxy Music. It's got credits, to bottom line, to the, we will make a great album if we had a great studio, if we had the video. We made it for nothing. We made it, recorded it, the cover, the video, the artwork, the logo, everything.
But it's-
We did it for nothing.
And it still stood the
Okay.
test of time.
The thing is, the brilliant thing about that is, it's hard to believe that's a photograph.
Yeah, because I had it airbrushed.
Because,
Yeah.
No, but it looks like a
Painting.
painting.
Yeah, that was the idea of
And
the
honestly, if I
airbrush.
saw that in a black t-shirt
Yeah.
or dark grey t-shirt, I know most of our viewers would want that. And I'm hoping we can do that one day.
But that was Steve's idea.
Yeah, it's good.
I mean, as much as Steve and I had a fallout, which was only about honesty and dishonesty, we never fell out at all until 2009.
Yeah.
You know, we never had a problem.
Yeah.
Okay. And then 90% of the problem was the person that I introduced to Steve, a record company bloke, who then read the agreement and said, according to this, Steve, you don't need Rusty or Midge or Billy or John or Dave.
Just bonkers.
Legally, you are Visage. So he went, so does that mean I don't have to pay back all the money I stole? And he went, well, not only that, you can make another album and a t-shirt and steal all that as well. So that's when I fell out with Steve. So up until then, you know, the creativeness of this album, I keep trying to tell people who tell me, you make excuses. I made Welcome to the Dance Floor. Has anybody listened to that album? How's the cover? How's the inner sleeve? What about the words? What about the recording? What about the sound quality? What about whatever? Yes, sorry, no money. Nobody gave me a record deal and put me in a studio and gave me anything. That's made if you've got the talent to write the music.
Yeah.
I can't
No,
sing.
nobody can do that.
So I'll phone up Tony Hadley. Oh yeah, because you can phone up Tony Hadley. Well, yeah, but I also found David, whatever his name, Vaughan, is it Vaughan? From 10 Centurions. And if you listen to his voice, you go, oh my God, what a voice. I found Tiny Magnetic Pet. I found Ryan Vale. I mean, there is a load of talent out there. And if you want to write and produce music, if your music is any good, ask somebody. I get people going, yeah, well, the piano's really crap because I can't play the piano. I said, then get a piano player. I can't really sing, but I'm the lead singer. Well, get a bloody singer. How can you make a record, send it to you, and expect them to say, I like it, and if they ignore it, you write to them 25 times going, why don't you review my album? And they go, why do I need to tell you that it's not good? Because then you're going to hate me because I told you, I'm sorry, you can't sing. You know?
No, you cannot stop it. Why was the reason why? Dose, tension, addiction, low tone, high tone.
So going back to the Visage album, and we spoke earlier about this. I remember being a 15-year-old, playing this album to death, loving this album, loving Ultravox, Vienna, loved everything that was going on at the time. In my mind, Vienna was already out there a long time, and then Visage Project came in.
Yeah.
But doing a bit of research for this chat, Fade to Grey was in the charts the same time as Vienna, pretty much. January, February 1980. Okay, Fade to Grey was a massive song, huge song. And you was competing at the time. There was Spandau Ballet in the charts. There was David Bowie in the charts. There was Vienna in the charts.
Wasn't it, Bowie?
Yeah, there was a lot of big songs in the charts. Billy Currie and Midge Ure had Ultravox, and they were signed to Chrysalis. Visage was signed to Polydor. How did this is my naivety of how the music industry worked. How did it work?
So basically, so the whole thing with the Ultra, with Mark's question is that
You were signed to Polydor.
you were signed to Polydor, Ultravox were with Chrysalis.
Yeah.
So, and then, so
But was that too long, what I just told you?
no, but I just want,
No,
so is that
that-
why you came out before or after Ultravox? Or?
No, I can answer that. What I'm trying to tell you is that the Billy's Club was about 3 months. And in that 3 months, everybody heard me
Yeah.
and John and Dave and Barry from Magazine and Billy Currie all met and Mijur. Mijur went on tour with Phil Lynott.
That's right, yeah.
So we were all together, and I got them to agree that we would make some music, because they loved the music I was playing. So we all met, I can't remember where, Notting Hill Gate, somewhere, and said, look, I want to make this kind of music. We haven't got a recording studio, we haven't got any money or anything like that. He's on tour, I'm going to go and record with the Skids. John Magazine were on the edge of splitting up. Ultravox had already split up. They got offered a gig in America, and Billy said, well, we've got rehearsal time for Ultravox to do the gigs in America, but we haven't got a singer. Right. Or a guitarist. So bottom line, Midge and I went to their thing.
Got ya.
I left him to it. I think he's a perfect guy. Billy was like, but he was in Slick. And I go, yeah, I know. It was all right for Glenn Matlock, you know. So the bottom line was that unit. I got on great with all of them, Chris and Warren, and I was a big fan of Warren Can drum machine.
Great drummer.
Great drummer. Yeah.
Ah, big fan of him. You know, so he and I would talk drummers and drum machines.
Well, Warren Can came to one of our gigs years ago.
Yeah.
We played the Rock Garden in Covent Garden.
Yeah.
And we came off stage and we was clearing up. And Warren Can was standing at the back, just like,
Yeah.
not speaking to anyone.
In those
on his
days, you
own.
went to those venues.
Exactly.
For, yeah.
And it was like, wow, it's Warren,
Yeah.
Warren Can's there. He's
Yeah.
a really cool looking guy.
Yeah, super.
Well, that rock garden was right next door to where we made the album cover.
Oh,
Like, literally
the Apple
next
store,
door.
yeah.
And then the shop where Steve Strange worked was in the same street.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, Polydor signed you.
No.
Did anybody not sign you? Or
No, I want to tell you something. To your listeners, or readers, listeners.
Viewers.
Okay, so I then wanted to close down Billy's Club through pressure from a Soho gangster nightclub owner. Welcome to Soho. And I had to get out of town because the place was packed and it was making plenty of money for him. But bottom line was he wanted to double all the prices and, you know, overcharge all our mates and £2 to hang your coat up. £2, are you having a laugh? It was free, you know, that kind of thing. So the bottom line was, I went to Berlin and I went to Dusseldorf. Now, the record collection that I had, suddenly I was where this music was coming from. And I wanted to find Kraftwerk, and I found Kraftwerk, and I met them, and then they told me about the shop, and I went to the shop, and I found all the, Gina X, you know, Wolfgang Riechmann,
Nice.
Neu, I found extended mixes of things. I was like, Zoyas Beheld, anyway, the Rockets, and I had everything. So now, I'm armed with all this stuff. I've got to Berlin, I've been to the Romy Haag Club, which is a sort of a 1930s Berlin cabaret show, transsexual Rocky Horror. They did Venus in Furs, you know, you don't know if it's a boy, is it a girl. It was really an amazing experience for me, and I'm still connected to Romy Haag on social media. She was the, you know, the idol for me, the nightclub queen. Before Grace Jones even, you know. So the bottom line is, I've now got all this music. I know what I want to make. I've got all the musicians. I love Magazine, you know, I love Ultravox. I'm not in Rich Kids. I've got Mijur who's come back from Thin Lizzy tour. I get invited to join the Skids, so I tell them I'll play the drums, but I'm not joining the band, right? Okay, fine. I've got to do Visage. That's the point. So this is the whole thing before Ultravox even made a recording.
Yeah.
So that's the point. We made this in Martin Rush's garage, and then Martin Rushton, I only met him because after Billy's, we found the Blitz. So we found the Blitz and opened the Blitz in 1979, end of, I think. And we got Tar released
Oh, right, yeah.
by Genetic. And Genetic's office was upstairs to the Blitz. Now, imagine me, loudmouth, who's got all that music. Guess what I didn't even know? Andrew Lauder, who was at at United Artists, who was the guy who signed the Stranglers and the Buzzcocks, who partnered up with Jake Riviera, who managed Elvis Costello, and Martin Rushent in Genetic. That was his office. And he was releasing German music already. I'd gone to Germany to get it, but never once did this bloke cross the office and say, Rusty, have you heard of Harmonia? I go, no. You know, have you heard this record by Can? No. I mean, I couldn't believe it. He said, have you heard of the 13th floor elevators? And I was like, sort of like the Doors, is it? Is it like the Doors? And the point was, it's because of my personality. I am a like it or hate him bloke. You could tune into this and you could just turn it off because I don't like that bloke.
Oh, don't say that.
I don't like that bloke. You know that
We're
thing.
full long and half for this audience.
Yeah, I'm just saying.
I know what you're saying.
Can you imagine now? We've made the album. It's finished. Spandau Ballet are in the club, December the 5th, 1979.
My birthday.
Christmas party, we put Spandau Ballet on. I see them and I say, meet Richard James Burgess. We don't need a record producer, said Gary Kemp. I said, you've never been in a recording studio. And I'm not going to play a record in this club that isn't electronic dance music. And I don't know if you know, but if you look on European Man by Landscape, it says EDM. We make electronic dance music. What is electronic dance music? Well, it's music that doesn't go out of time. Blondie, with that little drum machine at the beginning.
Yeah.
So bottom line,
Part of class.
disco, dance music, electro, European, Kraftwerk, OMD. The whole sound was in my head for this. And I had the musicians to do it.
And Polydor signed you.
No. Everybody turned us down.
Except for...
So, Midge is on tour with Phil Lynott in America. And Midge's managers and me, in 1979, we've made this album. We've made Fade to Grey. It's done. Midge is a guitar player in Thin Lizzy for one tour. But the gigs he got offered for Ultravox, John Fox Ultravox, Billy Currie said, yes, we'll do them. We'll do them. And asked Midge, will you do these gigs in America? And the managers of Thin Lizzy thought that Midge was a real talent and that we'll check it out. So they checked out Ultravox and said, we'll get Rodney Bingenheimer in LA to come. So Midge said, come to LA, right? So I went to LA, we stayed at the Tropicana Hotel. Midge and I was Richie Cunningham and he was the Fonz. Yeah, we were in LA and every night we had Valley Girls coming, and you've seen that film about the heavy metal band, right? Choir Boys or Queer Boys, whatever they're called. We went to the Poodle Club next door. Everyone looked like Brian May with a codpiece. And we were in there listening to Van Halen and all that. Midge and I next to the Whiskey A Go-Go. And they played the Whiskey A Go-Go for like 5 nights. And on the last night, I played King's Lead Hat. I played guitar with them, and it was the 30th of December 1979, and I said, look, Midge, this band is amazing, this Ultravox, great, and you can hear that set, you can hear them if you search Ultravox, Whiskey A Go Go, December the 30th, 1979, you'll find it online. And they did a couple of other songs, and one of them is so like E-music. I forgot what it's called, but it's on there. So anyway, this album's finished. The Blitz Club is packed, right? We did the Spandau Ballet December the 5th, and bam, I jump on an aeroplane and I'm in LA. And I'm staying with Ultravox in a motel. I'm sharing a room with Mitch. Anyway, I'm at the club every night. Rodney Bingenheimer's come in. He's like the John Peel of LA. And if he likes you, yeah, K-Rock. So, bottom line was, I thought Ultravox, amazing, right? Their managers thought, who's your mate? Mitch, who's your mate? He's a bit loud. He goes, oh, that's Rusty. I've got another band with him. What do you mean? You're in Ultravox, right? Yeah, but we've made this album, Visage. It's got a song in it called Fade to Grey, which is really good. Well, we'll check that out when we get home. So anyway, come back to London. Midge calls me and says, they love your Visage album. Well, not mine, our Visage album. And I go, great. He said, but we're doing a gig at the Electric Ballroom, and they've got Chrysalis coming down. It's about February, like 1979, 1980, I think.
Yeah.
Something like that. Anyway, this is finished, and this bloke from New York called Jerry Jaffe has sent a message, a telex. Hey guys, we love your Visage album. So, there's two managers, both Irish. One of them, brilliant, called Chris O'Donnell, loves music, understands musicians. Another bloke, like, take it or leave it. If we don't manage you, you're nothing, you know. So we got this kind of take it or leave it deal. And Midge produced it. Yeah, all right. And then Midge wrote Fade to Grey. All right. Anything else? Yeah, you know the song you did called The Dancer, yeah? Well, Midge wrote 75% of that. I said, well, it's an instrumental. There was only two of us in the room. Yeah, but you're a drummer. So I go, I don't care, I want my fucking record out. Fade to Grey is brilliant. I'm playing it in the Blitz. Everyone loves it, right? It's fucking ignored, and all I hear is people saying, Spandau Ballet. And I'm going, yeah. So anyway, by then it's all about Spandau Ballet, who I'm very happy for, but I've made this album. And they get us this shit record deal. But unbeknownst to us, it's starting to get played in Germany. So Tar came out, don't forget. This came out November the 10th, 1980. Ultravox came out, I don't know when, right? But bottom line, this has been made for a year.
Before it come out.
And Tar had already flopped. So if you get your figures right, the bottom line was both albums had been made, and both albums, they brought out Sleepwalk, don't know when, you know. Vienna was the third single. I think they had Passing Stranger.
Yeah,
Anyway, so the bottom line, I'm playing it all in my club. The club is packed. I'm making 100 quid, which in 1980 paid the rent and bought you dinner every day. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm not making anything as a musician. I'm up and down to Scotland, banging the drums in the skids. I'm DJing. And then I open a record shop on the King's Road to sell all the records, including this. So the bottom line was, this was not taken seriously by Polydor UK at all.
Okay.
But Midge and Ultravox were also getting shit reviews, you know, nobody going mad over it. I start promoting Depeche Mode, Soft Cell, you know, whatever. The point was that the rest of Europe was loving this music. So Depeche Mode's first single, you know, OMD, whatever. There was a sort of Europeanness about. Even the song New European. And Ultravox toured and toured and toured. They were always working, always.
Yeah.
So I know you're saying this came out and that came out, but the bottom line was they kind of were all out. Travelogue was out. Rock and roll, the double EP single. They weren't having hits. Nobody was having hits. You know, but Gary Newman opened the floodgates.
Yeah.
So that was 79, 80. So Billy joined Gary Newman for a tour.
That's right, yeah.
John McGeer, I think he played with Susie and the Banshees.
Yeah, he did.
Barry Adamson was on Mute Records or something. You know, one by one, I was in the Skids. Midge had done Thin Lizzy. In a way, this was a grower. People were, hey, Japan, I've heard your album, we love it. There was nobody, you know. But then, because a French bloke walked into my record shop, he said, hey, this record, I made Space. I went, what? Yeah, you want to come to Paris and meet Didier and Roland? So I went there and I made an album with them, Roland, and made an electro-techno record called Connecting Flight. And this guy said, I'll finance you, you're a genius, you know, one of them. Comes to London. And he took Fade to Grey to radio whatever.
Yeah, 'cause that's massive in France. I sort of know.
Went massive in France. And of course, the London Polydor get told, have you heard this thing? I said, yeah, some loudmouth bloke called Rusty's been in, shouting at us, telling us this is crap, and he wants to get hold of Godley and Cream. Why? Well, he wants to make a video with them. They don't make videos. No, they do.
This
So
is answering
everything-
one of your questions.
Yeah.
That's one of his questions.
Yeah, everything we wanted to do was like talking to a bank manager about a mortgage when you're 18. What? I want a mortgage. You're 18.
Well, I said here, right, Fade to Grey was one of the first and most recognisable videos of the 80s,
Yeah.
produced by Godley and Cream, and I read that Polydor resisted the idea of making the
I
video.
refused it, yeah. There was no MTV. It didn't
Yeah,
exist.
of course.
I know I talk a hell of a lot, okay, but you now got that was made for a year, that it was sitting on a shelf, Fade to Grey was going nowhere, but the French bloke did get it on the radio, and he did move to London,
And then it snowballed. Yeah.
and he did make things that I wanted to do happen, like when I heard Adam and the Ants, I said, but that's the Burundi drummers. He goes, Burundi, it's on Eddie Buckley. I said, who's Eddie Buckley? He goes, I know him. And he phones him, can you give me the master tape of the Burundi? And then boom, I got the master tape of the Burundi. And I went, oh, great. So I remixed the Burundi record, and everybody went, oh my God, it's the drummers of Adam and the Ants. So every time I wanted to do something, I'd say, oh, can you get hold of him and get hold of him? And because he had #1 around the world with Space, people picked up the phone. But for me, I was a loudmouth, some nobody DJ from a little club that no one had ever heard of. Unless the artist took me in there. So, Fade to Grey, the video, Steve is 99%, I want to make a video and I want Richard Shara. And we go, who's he? Because he's a makeup artist, and I met him through David Bowie. And I thought, anything to do with David Bowie, I'll have it, you know. So, have you seen this video called An Englishman in New York by Godley, Kevin Godley? And I'm not sure if it used the robots that were then used by Herbie Hancock in Rocket.
All right, yeah.
But I think they were, and I think they were in this video, and Kevin Godley was on Polydor, and we arranged a meeting with them, and we said, we want you to direct our video. And he went, oh my God, it's what we want to do, you know. And at the time he'd invented some guitar thing, hadn't he?
Yeah, they did Girls on... That's right, yeah.
Yeah.
The guitar effects box.
Yeah, the guitar effect box. So me and him got on great. What a forward-thinking, innovative guy. So basically, before MTV, so we phoned New York. Can you give us £1,000? Can you phone Germany? Do you want a video? Yeah, give us £1,000. We phoned France, give us £1,000. We got £5,000 together, and we made the Fade to Grey video. I didn't mention the fact that when we recorded the song, I came up with my girlfriend speaks really beautiful in Luxembourgish. So
her voice.
Yeah, her voice. Yeah. So basically, Brigitte was on that, and so the French were loving it, even though she's from Luxembourg. Anyway, so the point was the video all over Europe, and MTV didn't exist. Music television, £1,000 for a bit of promo for a record that's starting to happen in the clubs, 12-inch mix. So yes, Polydor UK were then, come on in, have lunch, you know. I met this girl in Paris and I want to make a record. What do you want to do? I want to do Sly Stone with Barry Adamson on bass. Her name's Ronnie and she's a bloke. She's not a bloke. I want people to think she's a bloke. So I got that wrong because they called Boy George because they thought he's the girl. People had to say, no, he's the boy. His name's George. Oh, I thought Culture Club was a girl. No, it's a boy. It's a boy. We can't say it's a boy. He's the boy.
He's a boy.
So, bottom line, Polydor were like, yeah, okay. Suddenly, the nutter's talking. Yeah. And he wants to do this photo session and he wants to do that. And they kind of said, yeah. So he wants to do an extended 12-inch mix and he's got this bloke called Rush Release. What do? Well, they take your record to a club, not to a soul and funk club. They've got a list of all of the electronic clubs. There's one in Essex, there's one in Leeds, there's one in Liverpool, there's one in Manchester, and this is where they play this music. Don't send his music to a soul club along with Herb Alpert, because they won't play it. So the bottom line was Rush Release sent out Spandau Ballet, Soft Cell, Visage, and clubs played it. Whereas 90% of the people said, but clubs don't play this music. I said, they do. One night a week.
Got it. And
So, Godley and Cream did the video.
Yeah, and they did Duran Duran Girls on Film.
Well, wait a
lot of
minute.
famous videos.
Russell Mulcahy,
Okay.
who is a friend of mine, started MGMM Videos, and they actually made Love Glove for the French bloke, because by Love Glove, Polydor had already pulled the carpet after Pleasure Boys, and wouldn't give us any money to do anything, and wouldn't promote anything.
Why was that though? Because
Exactly.
Because the first two albums were really successful. So why
Well,
would Polydor pull the plug?
let me tell
at
you
that
this.
point?
Fleetwood Mac were dropped. They just picked up Christine McVie and some other bloke, but the record company didn't give a fuck.
yeah.
And then they made Rumours. As far as that record company was concerned, they were finished. They were finished.
You got that wrong.
Human League were finished. Martin Russian made there. Human League didn't have a fucking band.
Well, interesting. I remember reading Nile Rodgers' book, and when he met Bowie in
He was finished.
he met Bowie before he did the Let's Dance album,
Yeah.
and he had coffee with David Bowie in New York, and neither of them had record deals.
No, finished.
So when you think how massive Nile Rodgers and Chic were, and
Wow,
David Bowie
Bowie,
were,
I mean-
and neither of them had deals before Let's
Nothing.
Dance.
Main man killed Bowie. Van Morrison's got a couple of songs about the music industry. I think it's called The Men in the Limousine, you know. There's a song about the men in the limousine. They always turn up at the gig. They're like investors. No, you got to understand, if you're in the stock market or something, you get high, you make your money, and then you're finished. you're never going to come back again. The people don't come back again.
You burn out very
You know, Ultravox are finished. Ultravox 3 album didn't work, dropped them, bye-bye. Ultravox, Vienna, who are they? What, some bloke from Rich? Never going to happen. You know, never going to happen. So, as I said, they didn't want to know that. It's not that they didn't want to know. We've got Level 42, we've got Shack Attack, you know, we've got whatever. This is working, this is how it works, we've got the soul scene. They're really good at it. I'm not saying they were rubbish. It's like walking in to a punk club and playing them Kraftwerk. They go, oh yeah. It's the wrong thing at the wrong time. So basically, here's my album Visage. Oh, can you give me the number of Spandau Ballet? Yeah, but have you heard it? Yeah. Yeah, all right, here's Steve's number. You know, so the bottom line was nobody wanted to know.
A puppet's motions controlled by a string, by a stranger I've never met. A nod of the head and a pull of a thread. I can't say no, can't say no. When a child throws down a toy, when I was new, you wanted me. Now I'm old.
Welcome to the remix, Volume 2.
Oh my God, you've jumped past the anvil.
We'll go back. It's an amazing album. I really like it. I've given it a lot of comments to friends. We've talked about it on our show. Is there a Volume 3 in the pipe? Because I mean, that was a big labour of love, Volume 2. It had like 40 tracks. I'm not saying, you're going to
37 now.
Oh yeah, we won't go into that. Well, we might do. But is there a Welcome to the Remix Volume 3 down the pipe?
Well, Welcome to the Remix Volume 2, 40 tracks, was my way of showcasing the talent that is ignored.
Yeah.
So, David Vaughan, I found with 10 Centurions.
Yeah, I saw him sing at your Pizza Express
Yeah,
night. Great
and
voice.
I remade that song.
Yeah,
I didn't write it, so I don't claim I wrote it.
he has got a great voice.
1921, Len Sander, the guy from New York, Painted Blue,
EMT.
Gregory.
What's our show?
yeah. Dubstar, and I'm not allowed to say Sarah, Dubstar, absolutely beautiful.
It's not allowed to
song.
say it.
Well, I agreed to everything, but there you go.
I know.
And Tiny Magnetic Pets are not on that album, but I wanted to put it on that album, but we did it after. Who else did I collaborate with? Burundi, Marco Peroni, went back to Burundi, went back to Nona Hendrix, loved that, went back to the Twilight Zone in the 80s. When I say back to, all those records were stolen off me. My record label, publishing company, music company, everything was stolen off me by the French bloke. With Warner Chappell Music and other people. Don't call Rusty, sign here, yeah, we'll have that. And he robbed Andy Taylor from Duran. He sold him the recording studio as well and robbed him, but I didn't know nothing about it. Until somebody said, you robbed me. And I said, what did I do? He said, you robbed me with the studio. I said, I got robbed in the studio myself. Anyway, we sorted that one out. So the bottom line is, my experience in the music industry was so bad that I just said, forget it, I'm out. I am out, you bunch of horrible bastard thieves. I never want to know any of you ever again.
Yeah.
So, 2009, I went to a little club and I saw LaRue with Jazz Summers. Now, I jumped up and down. I thought, I love it. 2 keyboard players and a singer and a pop song. I love it, I want to do it. They said, well, they don't need you to produce it. They want you to do a mix. So I said, I don't have a studio. Don't worry, we've got a bloke for you. And he introduced me to a bloke called Cy Medway Smith, who'd done Depeche Mode, blah, 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 you know. So are you happy with this? But the bottom line was, they got me Moby, and they got me a band called Boy Crisis. So I did Moby, and I was really not happy with it. But the bloke promised Soundfly that he'd do Fade to Grey Chill Out mix with me, which is called Cinematic. So I kind of didn't I wasn't running the show. Don't upset people, Rusty. So it just went doosh, dish, doosh, dish, doosh, you know, it was a bit, and I wasn't happy. And yeah, you've only got an hour. What? Yeah, you got to do it. Yeah, done. And I was like, oh, okay. Now you've got to do another one. Well, I've got to do another one. Yeah, you've got to knock that one out. And I said, I put a TR-808 on it. Blah, blah, blah. We did that one. And now you've got to do LaRue. Yeah, we've got no time. I said, what do you mean I've got no time? I said, well, you're out of time. You only had 6 hours in the studio. Oh, come on. You know, yeah, but the guy's booked up. So I went, all right, can we do it next week? Yeah, do it next week. Yeah, but he's booked up next week. Oh, can we do it then? So it's like a month later, my mate Charlie calls me and says, I've got a Logic in my bedroom. Get me the stems. So we load the stems in, and I finished it with my mate, who doesn't know anything about it. And I sent it to them, and they said, oh, sorry, you missed it. So I went, but that's the one I wanted to do, you know. So I did Bulletproof.
You missed it.
So I've stuck Bulletproof on my SoundCloud. Rusty Egan mix.
Yeah, I've heard it.
But I missed it. Anyway, that was my welcome back to the music business.
Something's never changed.
So
Yeah.
you jumped to Welcome to the Dance Floor. Welcome to the Dance Floor Volume 2 was me saying, I want to do that in my time, in my studio. You've got an amazing talent. And I took a long time over it.
Yeah,
That's why there was so many talent. But I'd already planned that I was then going to concentrate on writing my next album. And I won't be able to do everything and run a radio show and do everything. You know.
Yeah.
So I thought I'd get them all in on one album.
And sounds amazing. If you guys haven't heard it, go and, I think it's on Bandcamp, right?
Well, I would love anyone to go to only Bandcamp.
Yeah.
Don't go anywhere else because I get 0. If you go to Bandcamp, I'll be very happy.
I'll send my fears away. When I get there, I will know.
Yeah, it's a great album. Check it out. Along with
Anything
Welcome
else?
to the Dance Floor as well.
2 quick questions on Visage before we move on to your other stuff.
Oh, good. I thought you were going to end it.
No.
Nah.
So welcome to this, our Hot Stuff section, where Mark and I and other contributors look at some great music that's gracing their turntables right now. The one I want to focus on is by the mighty A Certain Ratio. This is the new, first studio album in 12 years called Loco. They did release a single prior to this launch called Always in Love. It features the band's core lineup, so that's Jez Kerr, Martin Moskrop and Donald Johnson. With contributions from the live lineup, so Tony Quigley, the recently and sadly departed Denise Johnson, love her voice, Matt Steele, and there was additional guests on this as well, so Sinky Teeths, Maria Uzor and Gemma Cullingford. We've reviewed one of their albums in one of the previous shows. Gabe Guernsey of Factory Floor, the Smiths, Mike Joyce and Eric Random, so a stellar lineup on this, some amazing musicians. Jez said in a recent press release, this album is a culmination of everything we've ever done, and Martin Moskrop added digging into the past for the box set, which they released last year on Mute. It must have rubbed off on them, influenced the current album. He says he thinks it helps spark up their imagination and allowed them to work on some of the past as they move forward into the future. I've always been a big fan of A Certain Ratio and feel they've always deserved greater recognition. They've been around for 4 decades making great inventive music. And this one's no exception. Check this beaut out. It's a great, great album. Absolutely love it. I say that's A Certain Ratio, and the album's called Loco. And the second album I want to talk about in this Hot Stuff section is it's a debut album actually by the band called Private World. This album's called Aleph. They're from Cardiff. They're predominantly a duo. They are making very big waves. I would say straight away when I first heard this, the first 2 influences that sprang to mind for me were Tears for Fears and Talk Talk, which is no bad thing in my book. Their sound couldn't be any more of a draw for our current love of retro times. The 80s for me was without doubt the finest decade for pure pop music, and Private World, I think, come along kind of just to remind us of what was so good about it. It was produced by a guy called Tom Rees, and it's all very gleaming. This album, very polished. Some great sonics in it. I think from the opener, Private World, to the closer, Jones to Engel, in brackets, Pyro or Pirate, there's a ton of rich tapestries to immerse yourself in, and none of them sound like they don't come directly from the 80s. There's shades of Simple Minds and China Crisis on tracks like Alien Funeral, hints of Pete Murphy on Chasm, Peter Gabriel Magic Lens, and I think as you listen to this album you might hear tones or tints of the Blue Nile, Japan or the Associates. I think it's a great example of artists recreating the art they love, and they're doing it with such style you wouldn't notice the difference between old and new. Albums like this invite criticism, I guess. Lack of originality, pointlessness, inferior to the originals. But I think Aleph successfully navigates those choppy waters. And actually, this comes out sounding really, really, really good. It's really nice work, lads. You should be very proud of this. I really like it. And you even hear hints of early Roxy music in this. So one to definitely put on and just listen to and immerse yourself in. So this is by the band Private World, and the album's called Aleph. Check it out, and again, like the Certain Ratio one, let me know what you think of them both. It's all about the feedback from me and Mark, so we keep trying to deliver great tunes to you. So go check this out. Hope you enjoy it. So that's it from Mark and I hope you've enjoyed their interview with the legend that is Rusty Egan. I hope you enjoyed the hot stuff recommendations. Let us know what you think of those, and we'll be back to see you very soon in another great episode we've got planned for you guys very soon. And I better go because I can hear my dog scratching at the door. Take care, look after yourselves, and stay safe.
Thanks again for watching the Electronic Cafe and for your continued support. Please subscribe and see you next time. Take care.